I'm having to constantly remind myself that watching the show is completely optional. I know the audience has been begging for a backstory for Bishop, but you have to admit, Alamos was necessary. This backstory was certainly the standout moment of episode 6, exploring themes of beauty and desirability, and of course, Alamos' relationship with women. It contextualized Alamo's crash out about the pants for me. He observed how Preston was treated by his mom and by others, and gleaned that how you present, it affects how people view you and treat you, and specifically in his case as a man. In the pants scene, he was specifically obsessed with this idea of being seen as physically smaller, and that popped into my head when we saw Preston pretty much reduced to his knees in that last heartbreaking scene. Now, when it comes to women, beauty has a bit of a different function in Alamo's mind. Of course, he observed his mom use her looks to manipulate other people, and now with his club, you can see that Alamo seeks control of what he believes to be that power to use for his own benefit. Now, the show doesn't really talk about Alamo and his romantic relationships, but it does touch on it a little bit when he first meets Maddie and they're talking about finding the right woman. And I feel like the relationship that Alamo has to women with his club is about the extent that he's gonna be able to get. I feel like, again, he sees them as something to control, and he sees that as a safe relationship with women. The only safe relationship is one in which he has the leg up on them, and anything other than that kind of just makes him go haywire. Actually falling in love and being in a relationship on equal footing would just not be possible for somebody like Alamo. I think he's not someone that's really capable of being vulnerable with a woman, and obviously we see where that started. And honestly, before this moment, I never really considered how Lori being a woman affected her business relationship with Alamo, probably because most of the exchanges that we've seen between them so far have focused on the racial tension between these two groups. But also, I feel like Alamo is pretty suspicious and distrusting of everyone in his orbit, regardless of gender. And that may be because he saw how vulnerable some men can be to the powers of a woman. And like he said, he would never let a woman get the leg up on him. And he saw it happen to other men. So maybe that's why he believes nobody can be trusted. But we're also hot on the heels of what he saw as a pretty severe betrayal by Big Ed, his bookkeeper, who was shot in the robbery. So he might just be on edge with everybody. Now, moving on to Rue, I was right about our girl living to see another day, but she has had no shortage of near-death experiences and physical and emotional trauma in this episode. I thought that there were a few moments in this episode that were just too corny and gimmicky for me. A big one was Rue with her head sticking out the ground that whole time. It just went on too long for me. I could see some people seeing it as comedic relief, but I just felt like it was far too goofy for a show that already doesn't have a lot of stuff tied up in a bow, and we're approaching the end. It's just too sloppy. Everything is too sloppy for us to be worried about that right now. We need to get to the point. But I think that Rue's conversation with Faye set up a few key events to come. First, obviously, Rue's future heist to recover the contents of Alamo's safe, which we all know cannot go smoothly, and also especially considering that ominous threat to Rue's mom. 2, some sort of reveal about the contents of that safe, possibly connected to that mysterious white substance that Faye snorted. And 3, Faye's potential demise. I do think that Faye's betrayal will come with some consequences for her. Despite the fact that Lori is at the helm of the operation, people who espouse far-right ideology are no strangers to violence against women. Even Lori herself, who has sort of hinted at being taken aback by the severity or cruelty of what Alamo does as opposed to what she does. She literally said when she loaned Rue all that suitcase, she said that I'll have you kidnapped and sold to some real sick people. So I don't know what she clutching her pearls acting oh, big bad Alamo. I mean, big bad Alamo, but big bad Lori too. So I do think that Faye is going to get found out and something's going to happen to her. And also, if something happens to her, it might be a warm-up for something happening to a more prominent character a little later. So the danger in this feud is ramping up, and we can see that Rue is feeling the heat. She's beginning to talk about living a simpler life, a fuller life with a family and kids. And all I have to say to this is Rue, respectfully, you do not need no damn kid. That I need something bigger to live for thing, it does not work. Ask Cassie and Lexi's dad. He had two somethings bigger to live for. And look what happened. There's plenty of people out here dealing with substance abuse, dealing with severe mental health issues that have kids, and ask their kids how that went. I'm sorry. And don't get me wrong, there are people who can get to the other side of their addiction, who can be there for their kids and their families. But like that whole having something bigger to live for thing, it just does not work. She had her mom to live for. She had her younger sister to live for. It really just goes beyond that. Like it can't be for anybody but yourself. I know it may seem logical for it to be like, oh, I need something besides myself to live for. But like I feel like it really has to come from within. And when Jules asked her, did she think she was ready? She was like, well, is anybody ever really ready for kids? And I'm like, girl, no, but like, you really not ready. Like, you the unreadiest. Like, do not have no damn kids, Rue. Please. I really don't think Rue should ever have kids, like, just in case. Like, what we've seen the past 2 seasons, please, we've seen enough. Now, I can't really say for sure where this change of heart came from in Rue. You could just say that maybe she's entering a new season in her life as she's getting more mature. I struggle to attribute it to the recent near-death experiences because Rue has had near-death experiences before when she's OD'd. And even after that, she came out of that OD with no intention on being sober. Now, that was a couple years ago. She was younger. She could be a different person now. But I don't really know if the near-death experiences are what triggered this, or maybe it's her road to sobriety, which I think I said in my last video that her sobriety has been a bit unclear this season, because in the first episode, she says explicitly that she is not sober. And then because of that, every time that she's mentioned being sober since then, I've kind of just thought that it was like, she was just like lying to the people around her, like we've seen her do before. And they were all kind of situations in which her character might do that. Also, we haven't seen her go through a period of withdrawal, and we've seen Rue go through withdrawal. It's like, it's kind of crazy to watch her go through it. So I find it really hard to believe that she's actually sober, but now where we're at in the story, it's seeming like we're just supposed to accept that is the truth. To me, it just feels really sloppy. Now, speaking of sloppy, let's talk about Cassie. I don't know what type of bread Sydney Sweeney is shelling out to Sam Levinson to keep getting these long, dramatic ass scenes, but that one scene where she was debating on whether or not to delete her OnlyFans, it was just so unnecessarily goofy, and it just really treaded on the nerves of the people who are sick of seeing Cassie this season. So pretty much everybody. I do not know why Cassie would make a decision like that off of some vague promise. Like, forget the contract with Maddie and the other guy. People are out for you. Like, I don't know. I get it's an opportunity, but it's like, girl, you need to take the opportunity to keep living your life here on Earth. Like, that's really the opportunity. I doubly don't know why her and Nate seem to be in a long distance relationship, even though they definitely live in the same city. Like, I understand why she moved out, and maybe they're not seeing each other for her safety, but like, every conversation they have is on the phone. They haven't seen each other since they moved out. Like, it'd be different if she was still giving him the cold shoulder, but like, they on the phone talking about I miss you, kicking it up and stuff. It's just weird that they're acting like they're in a long distance relationship. They are not. Regardless, Cassie does seem to be failing upwards on the set of LA Nights, but between Maddie's wrath and Naz's threats, I think we can all agree things are about to get a lot worse for Cassie. My only hope is that Maddie does not get caught up in the crossfire. Let me know what you think is on the horizon for Cassie. Also, do you think that Bishop actually paid Rue's mom a visit? What do you think is going to happen to Faye? And again, what was in Alamo's safe? I look forward to reading your predictions in the comments, and I'm also going to be doing a video reacting to some of the fan theories from this season, because they have honestly been crazy. So I'm going to do that before the finale. So make sure you're subscribed and stay tuned for that. That's all I have for this video. Here are my social media handles. You can follow me there if you like, including on my main channel where I make video essays through a historical lens. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell icon so that you get a notification every time I get off my butt and post a video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.